what I didn't know is that between 2012 and 2013, Tommy had actually landed at one of the best facilities in the nation, University of Nebraska Medical Center in Omaha, Nebraska, and had no idea, but all the physicians there were actually testing him and abiding by Fauci's algorithm and testing him for all these diseases that I didn't even know about at the time. And so now I'm piecing together why they were testing, right? Because remember, Tommy is worldwide known. You've got Magic Johnson, and then you've got Tommy Morrison. Magic Johnson went for all the medications and stuff like that. And Tommy Morrison was always the conspiracy theorist in denial. And so you've got the two, right? So just to show you that the physicians that we encountered, and some people have even said on YouTube that they are conspiracy theorists. And I'm thinking, how could you say all these physicians that are highly educated in science and are specific in the infectious disease area and follow the science as we know it now from Fauci, how can you call them conspiracy theorists? You're all wanting Tommy to have HIV/AIDS, fine, but let's get the proof of it, right? Well, right now we actually have the proof that he never had HIV/AIDS. So between November, October of 2012 through to when Tommy died, he was tested for PCP, Kaposi sarcoma, CMV, Cryptococcus, histoplasmosis, and a whole bunch of other diseases that Fauci classifies that if you have that disease, you have AIDS, right? So Tommy had no HTLV1 or HTLV2. He had no JVC. He had no Legionella. He had no pneumococcus, right? And then when people started to doubt what I was saying, I thought, well, wait a minute, let me have a look at the test results from University of Nebraska Medical Center and other areas, and let me find out if these physicians are real, right? I mean, maybe they are conspiracy theorists. If that's the case, then, Dr. Riley, who did a biopsy, found no Kaposi sarcoma. She can't be a conspiracy theorist, right? What about Dr. Bongo? He found no JCP virus, right? How about this guy, Dr. Bauman? He found no PCP. These are all the diseases. How about Dr. Hasty? He found no CMV, right? These are real people. And how about Dr. Pisano? Found no JCP virus. I'm going to go on, okay? How about Dr. Steckelberg? She found no histoplasmosis. This beautiful lady, and all these people I've never met, Tommy never met, and this is Dr. Kozel. She also found no Kaposi sarcoma. And then you've got these guys also. These are all physicians, right? And they also found no PCP, no CMV, no opportunistic pneumonia, no JCP virus, right? These are people that have gone to college, university, and they all stand by Fauci, right? And his algorithm. So I'm comparing what people are saying on the mainstream media, where, well, his mother said he had HIV/AIDS. And I'm going, I'm sorry, she's a real sweet lady, 80 years old. She's not even a physician. So I'm comparing her to all these guys. Even Dr. Antonio Osio, in his affidavit, he says Tommy never had HIV/AIDS. Here we have Dr. Nielsen, and he's the one that did the antemortem before Tommy died. And he is at Massachusetts General Hospital. He even photo imaged Tommy's blood, right? And found no virus in him. So, then when Tommy did die, and he died of cardiac arrest, multi organ failure, and septic shock and septicemia. He was actually put in a induced coma, and within 24 hours, died. He did not get out of it. They did a post mortem for me, and Tommy died September 1, 2013, and September 2nd, the media went crazy. ESPN went crazy. Everybody's going, well, he was diagnosed with HIV in February 1996 in Las Vegas. All right, let's think back timeline. February 1996, Vegas. Well, who diagnosed him? There's only one person, Holden, right? Everybody else has not diagnosed him. Well, because he was diagnosed with HIV in 1996, that means that he died of AIDS in 2013. That would be the normal thinking, right? Except that none of this actually adds up anymore, because there was no diagnosis in 1996. You've got all these physicians and experts saying that he never had an AIDS-defining disease. And then you've got Dr. Phil Smith, okay, and he's at University of Nebraska Center. He's a distinguished scientist. He found Tommy was negative for HIV/AIDS. See that we've got Stephen Hendricks, who did the very first electron microscopes with the Fauci era on HIV, and he found no retroviruses in Tommy, which is the scientific word for HIV. Remember that, retroviruses. Okay, and a pathology report was sent to me, and it was signed, dated, with a full methodology, which was used by Fauci et al. When they discovered HIV. So these are all the supporting documents that I've got, which came from a lawsuit, right? But just to finish it a little bit more, I went to the CDC, because everybody's going, oh, okay, well, he didn't have HIV/AIDS, but he had a low T cell count. Well, this is another thing that Fauci brought out again, is, if you have a low T cell count, a low CD4 count, then, you also qualify for having HIV/AIDS, right? Well, I went directly to the CDC, to their doctor there, and Dr. Owen, and she emailed me back, and it's in court records as well. So I'm asking Dr. Michelle Owen, about a CD4 test kit. And she said, well, at this time, and that means 1996, there was not a CD4 test kit. Okay, so in some of the deposition testimony, I'm being told in 1996 that Tommy's T cell counts, CD4, were really, really low, right? Well, at that time, there was no CD4 test kit, okay? Again, the timeline is very, very important. And then Dr. Michelle Owen goes on to say, it is possible to have a very low CD4 count caused by other diseases, such as cancer, other infectious diseases, genetic disorders, autoimmune disorders. So can't rely on a CD4 count in Tommy's situation as being, well, he had a low CD4 count. That means he had HIV/AIDS. No, it doesn't mean that. And that comes directly from the CDC, Dr. Michelle Owens, right? And then another one test that everybody says that proved that Tommy had HIV was the viral load, the PCR test, right? And again, from Dr. Michelle Owen, when you see Tommy standing up, and I think you of this, or everybody's seen it at a press conference in Tulsa. You know, I have definitely tested positive for HIV. You know, they did all these tests and everything. Well, that was February 1996 again in Tulsa, right? Where Tony Holden stands up and he does another press conference for Tommy on a Monday. And remember, Tommy was told that he had HIV on Saturday by Tony Holden. Well, it doesn't take a day to get results. Normally it took a little bit longer than that, right? Especially over a weekend, okay? And then he says he had, you know, more extensive testing and everything. And that was February of 1996. Well, this comes directly from the CDC. The first HIV viral load test to be FDA approved was Roche Diagnostics. It came on the market June, July of 1996. Okay, not February of 96, June, July of 1996. Okay, then she goes on to say, if the testing was done prior to this time in 1996, it would have been a non-FDA approved research use test. Okay, non-FDA approved research use test. In any situation, this is from her, okay, her meaning her, right, from the CDC, Dr. Michelle Owen. She goes, in any situation, viral load tests are not actually approved for screening and making a diagnosis. Okay. So for 30, 40 years, doctors have been making diagnosis using the PCR test for HIV when they were never approved by the FDA. If you go to the FDA today and ask them, was there an emergency authorization to use a PCR test? They would say no, there wasn't. It's all the same testing. You know, I was thinking today, you know, the testing for HIV is a blood test, right? Although with Tommy, we did blood, sputum, sperm, cerebral spine fluid, right? And tissue. We did all those testings on different parts of his body for HIV, found nothing, right? We even photo imaged and everything to find the virus, found nothing. In fact, I have a photo here that Tommy absolutely loved, right? And it was false positives. You've got Dr. Fauci there and Tommy just, you know, having a look at our dog. And there's a test that was done on dogs, and the dogs tested positive on HIV tests. So it's just very, very strange.
There is so much out there, and that's another blessing that I have found in meeting you and talking to you, is that it's some of the avenues you've gotten me down in my research that have really made me think, and it really started to piece the Fauci puzzle together, we'll call it. But I do have a question, and this was something that I thought was rather interesting, rather confusing, and maybe you could clear it up for me. Magic Johnson was diagnosed with AIDS, HIV, was it 91, 92-ish? And, and he was sent on the tour, and he was, you know, they sent him everywhere. And I believe the following year, in 91, he was diagnosed. And then that same year, I believe that, or early the next year, he was in the NBA All-Star game, blood, sweat. And then he represented the United States on the Dream Team in the Olympics in 92. Tommy gets diagnosed in 96 and is banished from everything. I just found that quite odd that Magic was given a hall pass basically, and Tommy was kicked to the curb.
Yeah. You know, something that I haven't really shared with anybody, but at one of the hospitals that we were at, there was a nurse there, and she flat out came to me and she said, if I have to resuscitate anybody, it would be Magic Johnson and not Tommy Morrison. And I could not believe that she came out with that. And I think mainly because Tommy, he started to do his own research, right?
Mhm.
And Magic Johnson was very much promoting, all the medications and everything. So maybe he was. I mean, I don't know Magic Johnson's medical information, but I know my husband's medical information. And because my husband did not have HIV/AIDS and believed it right from the very beginning, really, because he would wake up and say, "Why do I feel so good if I'm supposed to be so sick?" He refused that medication, right? And that medication that they give you, he would say, the side effects of the medication are the symptoms of HIV/AIDS, is what he would say. Um, so yeah, he did do his research.
So I actually wanted to share a clip with everybody real quick, and this is from 2010, I have quite a few. I probably have more than pictures of Tommy Morrison on my computer than a heterosexual male should, but I just want to share with everyone real quick. This is Tommy doing it was a little like a mini vignette on his comeback and when he was attempting to come back to boxing. And by the way, Trisha, will you share with everybody, was it Tommy reinstated out of the blue in what was it, 2010?
06.
06.
Yeah. Yeah. July 11, 2006, in
Mhm.
the court records, it shows that they secretly lifted his suspension, and that's 10 years. So his prime obviously would have been between 26
Mhm.
and 27 for the next 10 years to fight Mike Tyson and everything and really, do well in boxing. And that was the time when he was kicked out. And then they secretly lifted his suspension on July 11th, 2006. And they provided proof of that in the documents.
Mhm. Well, in Tommy's own words, let's see how he was feeling. Let's see how he was feeling in 2010 because unless he's a zombie, this is the healthiest zombie I've ever seen in my life. So let's share this little clip.
The more I found out that what I was being told was a bunch of bull. What I do know is, all the things that they told me was going to happen to me never happened. Am I Superman? No, I don't think so. I used to think I was Superman back when I was 21, but, I just think that there was a misdiagnosis.
Yeah. So, and that was from a little clip that we were doing from one of our I Am Tommy Morrison campaign, which we will get to shortly. And there's one more thing. You brought up the press conference, and I want to share that with everybody real quick, just to kind of reorientate everybody into what we're talking about now. What always got me about this press conference is that he took people's word for it, and he trusts.
See me as a role model, but see me as an individual that had the opportunity to be a role model and blew it.
No, he didn't blow anything. And one of the reasons why Trish and I we brought up, that she has been the conspiracy theorist, right? The deniers. Tommy was a denier. Trisha's a denier. People on YouTube, and I guess the doctors are deniers, because the documentary that was done on the worldwide leader in sports did not paint Trisha in the best light. And that's actually was my first exposure to her, was watching that documentary, and they had framed it to where she looked, they made you look nuts, Trisha. You and I talked about it. They did not, they yellow washed you. First of all, the story around you, and then they inserted you for about 2 minutes. And I think I have the picture here, but they basically had everybody saying Trisha was bouncing him around from state to state, hospital to hospital when the Medicare ran out, and she was killing him. And he was ready to die for 2 years, and she just kept pushing him. And that right there was my first exposure. And then I saw that first interview you did when you had all this laid out, and I went, "Oh my goodness!" That opened my eyes to you. And listen, my life's been blessed ever since meeting you. So I want to kind of show the picture that I have of kind of what. Let's see. They did what was called yellow washing, and I'll have to pull up your picture. But here's what, when we say that, this is kind of what they did.
It turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything.
Good Lord. You would think that man was literally, as soon as that clip ended, he died. And they distorted, like, so I remember you telling me the story, and if you'll share it with everybody, the day of that interview, it was going to be a 3-hour interview. You got 2 minutes. Yeah. That's all I gave you. How did that go, by the way?
Yeah. It was, I was so excited to think that ESPN were bringing out a movie on my husband, right? Remember, he's my husband. He died in 2013, and this is now 2017. And I'm thinking, great, this is going to be a really good way of getting it out to everybody in the world that Tommy did not have HIV/AIDS. Everything that I've shown you, right, I showed ESPN. So they flew down, and I mean, I was just so naive, Brad. My first ever interview. So having worked in the airline business, I often would wear my hair up, right? And had my hair up with a scarf, like I still do, have a scarf, right? So they come in and they completely changed my whole living room. They take down all the photographs, all the Elvis picture that Tommy had, completely rearranged all the furniture. And I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be really, really good. And, and they're taking everything down. They're putting it, and they said, oh, you need to take your hair down. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I have first of all not slept all night because I'm so nervous about this. And then I put my hair up, it took me about half an hour to do it. And they're telling me to take it down. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe that's how you do stuff, right? And so I took it down. And then I heard in the background them saying, well, she's starting to look like the others now. And I'm thinking, the others, what others? I had no idea that they were trying to make me look like the other wives of Tommy Morrison, right? Because I didn't know who was going to be in this movie, right? Or documentary. All I was thinking was, it's going to be a great documentary. It's going to show the best of Tommy, and it's going to show the truth at the end. And I'm going to sit down, go through all the documents, and they were agreeing, yeah, great, and so 3 hours, right? And then I wasn't invited to the premiere. Okay, so I should have thought right there and then, right, there's something wrong here. So I emailed, I said, how come I haven't been invited to the premiere? Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, that's pretty rude, but also I'm working. I haven't had time to take the time off to go to the premiere. So I got a last minute invite. Oh yeah, you can come if you want to, if I want to, right? This is about my husband. So anyway, I don't go because I can't take time off work. I work. And then apparently, I think everybody got their own copy of the Tommy ESPN 30 for 30 video. I never got anything, right? And I'm thinking, well, this is very strange. And then I started to get slammed on social media, and my let's just say they did an awesome character assassination job of me, right? They did. And that's what I heard from everybody. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, at least thank goodness I didn't go to that premiere, because it looks as though the whole family want to lynch me for finding out that their son, their brother, their ex never had HIV/AIDS. There's a problem here.
You were not toting the narrative.
No. Yeah, all I was doing was showing what the experts in the field of microbiology, virology, Fauci et al., the people who the virus belongs to, I was showing proof that Tommy never had it, and everybody should be really excited, right? But you know the rest of the story, right?
Sorry if I look distracted. I was trying to find the picture, and you had sent it to me. And by the way, follow Trisha on all. She's on all the social media platforms. And she shares a lot of this stuff, a lot of this truth you can find on her Facebook page, Trisha or Tommy.
You don't have to show. You don't have to show that photo if you don't want to.
I was one of the first nights we talked, and we looked at the picture, and I looked at like you right before the interview, and then what they posed, and I meant it with all like due respect. It was like they aged you like 20 years and had you looking.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was, but that really does happen, folks.
Well, just like it happened to Joe Rogan, right? Yeah. So from what I've seen is they completely yellowed me. Mm-hmm. They made my mouth squishy like this, right? And they made me look as though I didn't have one eyebrow. And then after rearranging my complete furniture in the back, there's nothing. I'm on there for like 2 seconds. There's no mention of a post-mortem report showing no HIV/AIDS. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that I was the wicked widow, right? And even today, Brad, on Facebook, a memory popped up, and it was a memory from one of Tommy's family members accusing me of having sold Tommy's ashes on eBay, right? Which led to another story where I went to the legal department at eBay, and I asked them to check all my accounts. First of all, I've never sold anything of Tommy's on eBay, let alone ashes, right? And this was just horrific. I could not believe it. Why are they doing this? I just couldn't get over it.
And for context, at the end of that documentary, they kind of discussed that Trisha was kind of hoarding the ashes, and Tommy had a specific list of who were to get portions of him. I hate to say it, and that seems like crude to say it like that, and you followed his wishes to a T. And so, so segueing from that, and if we bounce around, I don't mean to, but you did something that was so impactful that I saw, and it was a visual you've done. So if Tommy didn't die, if he never had it and he never died of it, and I'm looking at this man in 2010 training, and I have he is jacked, he's ripped, he's healthier than I am, and I'm quote unquote healthy. What was in 2010 and beyond? Where did it all start to go down health-wise for him?
Yeah. There was one particular incident which was the downfall of my husband, and I do reenact it because I think it's very important that people know exactly what he went through. Right? Mm-hmm. He was thrown into jail over what to be a bogus felony warrant of arrest. And this was in Tennessee, in Sevierville, in the jail there. And he was thrown in there, and he was there 3 weeks, and then he was extradited to Wichita, Kansas. Mm-hmm. And I was finally able to bail him out with the help of one of the 5 friends that he had. And he came out of jail with a tick bite to the side of his chest. And the tick bite, remember, I took lots of photographs because this was very, very important, because this was the downfall. The tick bite was like that. And it had been drained by a physician in Wichita, Kansas. And I actually have the statement with the dollar amount, the draining and everything there, and a letter from a physician. And I'm going to read that, right, because I've been accused the